Now that the lino's installed in the closet, it's time to deal with the flooring transition. My favorite. Hey guys, how's it going? Similar story here with the transition as with the flooring. I wasn't able to find anything that matched, so I figured I could make it. To start this project off, I rip a 2-inch strip off of a leftover chunk of oak. I figured a hardwood would be a better choice for this, and it was what I had on hand. After cleaning up the other side of the strip, I moved the fence and set the blade to about halfway through the height of the board. Since this was a smaller piece, I figured getting my featherboard set up for this cut wouldn't be a bad idea, and then resawed the board to around 3/8 of an inch thick by running the board through once with the blade going halfway, flipping the board and running the board through again, making sure the same side of the board was against the fence. And shit, there was a lot of tension in this board. Well, that worked out well. With the board cut to rough size, I set up the thickness planer and cleaned up the top and bottom by taking at most 1/32 inch of thickness off at a time. I didn't really need to use the thickness planer, I could have just sanded it and it would have been just fine. With the top and bottom cleaned up, I take the board back to the table saw, bump the fence over another 1/8 of an inch, and rip a rabbet into the bottom of the board to allow for the difference in the flooring heights. And while I had the fence set there, I figured I'd resurface a couple more of my beaten up push sticks. Why not? And now it's time for the router table. Didn't really need it. I could have just sanded the corners off, but I threw an 1/8 inch roundover bit in and rounded off the thicker side of the board. And around here is where I realized I screwed up my order of operations. The roundover bit worked okay for the thicker side of the board, but the thin side was too thin to make proper contact with the top bearing of the router, and it just chewed through the board. I tried to tape some scrap wood into the rabbet to try and salvage the piece, but I wasn't too happy with those results. What I should have done was round over the top 2 edges first and then cut out the rabbet on the table saw. I ended up scrapping this version, and that is exactly what I did on my second attempt, which worked out a lot better. With a little bit of hand sanding later, I take it inside for finishing. I found this gel stain, which is a fairly close color match to the existing hardwood, though after using it, I can't say I'm really that big of a fan of gel stain. Since this was the first time I used it, I followed the directions on the can, and I really wasn't too happy with the results. I found the color to just be weak after wiping off the excess, so after 3 tries following directions, I just gave up on that and left the stain in place to fully dry, which is where I found the color that I was looking for. With the stain done, I gave it 3 coats of spray satin polyurethane, sanding in between coats with 320 grit and finishing it off with 3000 grit. Then the last thing to do was nail it down to the floor with a couple brad nails. And this is where I'll call the flooring transition done. I'm fairly happy with how this one worked out. The color match is really close, and unless it's pointed out, which I guess I just did, I don't think anyone's really going to notice a difference. Though I do wish I would have gone and found some lumber that more closely resembled the grain of my existing floors. The red oak I used looks quite a bit different, but for what I had on hand, it's really not too bad. Maple probably would have been a closer bet. And with that, I'm going to call it a video. Thank you all for watching, and if you like what I'm doing here, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you have any questions or comments, I look forward to reading them in the comment section below. And if you want to see more up-to-date projects, you can always follow me on Instagram at JohnTheShriner. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next video, and have a good one.